Hey YouTube, Wayne's Fish Tanks 99 back at it for another video. In this week's video I'm going to make an informative video about what in my opinion are the top 5 beginner aquarium hobbyist mistakes. So we're going to go from number 5 to number 1 in no particular order. But I'm just going to name my top 5 mistakes that I see people making. So this is just so you guys can avoid it. I've made some of these mistakes myself. So I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means, but I'm just trying to put this video out there so that you guys won't make the same mistakes that I did and that other people have made. So probably for the number 1, I'm going to say people that choose an aquarium that's too small to start off with. A lot of people think that starting off with a small aquarium is a good idea or a better idea, but that's not really the case. Why it's not is because, like say, take a tank like this for example. If you drop, say 1 drop of oil in there, just hypothetically, not you're going to put oil in your tank, but say 1 drop of oil, it's going to take a long time and it's going to not disperse very evenly because it has to take up such a large volume. But say you take it for a 10-gallon tank, for example, dropping in a little bit of oil is going to be a lot more detrimental to the tank. So any little fluctuation in water parameters or temperature is going to affect the fish a lot more because it only has to affect a small body of water, whereas something like this size, it's going to take a lot longer to affect, or a little bit of change won't make that big of a difference. It won't kill all your fish, whereas something like that for a smaller tank could cause a big issue. So you really have more room for error with a larger tank. Number 2, I'm going to probably say not having enough patience. So what most people don't know, well, most people that set up an aquarium think, okay, well first I put in my gravel, my aquarium decorations, and then I put in my water, and then I can start adding fish right away. Well, it's not really the case. It takes quite a while to make it so when you set up an aquarium right from the start by adding fish. So you have to wait probably 4 to 6 weeks is what it's taken me usually when I set up a tank. So that's pretty much from the first day of setting up, filling with water, to adding your first fish. It takes 4 to 6 weeks. Now I'm going to make a video maybe later on in a couple weeks on my channel about the nitrogen cycle, but that's pretty much what you're waiting for. When you set up a new tank, it doesn't have any beneficial bacteria in it to break down fish waste. So when you set up a tank, if you add fish right away, it's not going to have any of that bacteria, so your fish are going to die off if you don't have either hardy fish, or B, if you add too many, then they're easily going to die off. So that's probably mistake number 2. Mistake number 3, I would say, is adding all your fish at once. So you set up your tank, it all looks really nice, you waited the 6 weeks, 7 weeks, all your water parameters are perfect, all your nitrites, nitrates, everything like that is good. And then you go to the pet store, you buy fish. Now what some people do is they buy all the fish in their tank because they think now that the bacteria is there that you can just add as many fish as you want, which is why that's my number 3 point. So it's going to overload your tank if you put all the fish in it. Now your tank does have beneficial bacteria, but it's only a small amount and it'll keep building up as you add more and more fish. So if you add all your fish at once, the bacteria is not going to be nearly stabilized enough to break down all that waste that's coming in at once. So you really go from having like barely to no waste to just having 15 fish and loading it all up. So that's going to be a big issue. And then kind of a side note, not all fish produce the same amount of waste. Obviously, bigger fish, more waste, smaller fish, less waste. So maybe putting in 3 goldfish isn't a good idea because they're going to poop a lot more, eat a lot more. But you could get away with putting in 3 tetras or 4 tetras because it's a smaller fish and they're going to produce less waste. Number 4 for my top 5 tips, or mistakes I guess, is not quarantining your fish. So a lot of people make that mistake. They go to the pet store, they have a couple fish in their tank already, they throw in the new fish, and all of a sudden a disease breaks out. Fish get ick, something happens, and all your fish die, and you're wondering why. Now, not all fish that come from your pet store or whatever, not all of them are disease-free. Now, you can't see every disease, so that's why I would suggest putting them in a tank that has no decorations, just a bare-bottom tank, just water that's already cycled and everything, and keep them in there maybe 4 to 6 weeks. And that way you can monitor them, and if something does happen, if they do have a disease or a parasite, and something does happen, it doesn't affect all the fish in your tank that you currently have. So that way it's a lot bit more of a safe-proof way to adding fish. And probably my last mistake that aquarium hobbyists make is keeping fish together that aren't compatible. So not all fish you're able to put together. Obviously you can't put saltwater and freshwater fish together, but I'm talking about some fish that are very aggressive towards other fish, such as like my rainbow fish. You only really should have one in this tank. I mean, if I put 2 or 3 in there, that wouldn't really be compatible because they would kill each other. Such as also other fish that are way more aggressive, you can only have like one of that fish in your tank. Otherwise, it will harm other fish, and they'll get into fights and they'll kill each other. But one thing to be mindful of is also that not every fish occupies all levels of the tank. So for me, like these little guys here, they'll occupy the top half of the tank. They don't really go down to the bottom half, whereas my rainbow, the rainbow shark, he usually occupies the bottom third, bottom quarter of the tank, since that's how he gets his nutrients, is sifting through the gravel. And so that's another thing that you guys have to keep in mind, is that not all fish are compatible. So make sure you do your research. There's lots of compatibility charts on like Live Aquaria and stuff like that you can see if you can keep these 2 fish together. And also, not just that they won't get along, but some fish need different water parameters. Some need a high pH, whereas some need a low pH, high alkalinity versus low alkalinity. And then other fish like hot temperatured water, like not boiling hot obviously, but warmer, and other fish like a cooler. So you can't have fish that are on opposite ends of the spectrum, otherwise they're not going to be, they're not going to do well. One fish will be thriving, whereas the other one either will die or they won't do well. So that's going to be my top 5 beginner aquarium hobbyist mistakes. So I hope that I was able to teach you guys stuff, or let you guys know some good information, so that you guys don't make the same mistakes that other people, and the same mistakes that I've made before. So that's going to be it for this video, and I'll upload again next week. I just want to thank you guys for watching my videos, and as always, if you guys could subscribe and turn on the notification bell whenever, so that way you guys can get notified whenever I update a new video or release a new video. And if you have any tips or suggestions or any comments, you can always leave it down in the comment section below. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Thanks guys, bye.